Welcome back to the Sound for More channel. Today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Therminator 2 from Yonac. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe, as it helps with growing the channel. Additionally, if you would like to support what I do, please do follow the instruction contained in each video description. Thank you again. So what is it? First of all, an app that works as standalone, as you can see now, and also a AUv3. Okay, so your choice. It's a virtual, touchable version of the theremin. Okay, that beautiful instrument, which interestingly enough, you didn't use any touch to change, for example, the volume or the pitch. In this case, is a touchable version by where, in this case, I'm using, for example, my fingers. So I press here, and then you can move up and down as you're holding. So the iPad is quite good actually for this type of user interface. In this case, we are actually changing the filter. Here you can see it is actually active, but you can change the volume, the vibrato amount, and also the tremolo. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You see notes here, those are dependent on the scale that you can choose through here. In this case, we have a C key and also a blue scale. You can lock these parameters as you change preset, and then you can also do note snapping as well. So let's set this down to 0. Or let's set these to 100. So you can hear different behaviors, right? But in addition to that, you can actually act on the portamento as well. So if you're wondering in terms of polyphony, well, it's very simple. So let's remove the portamento here. So monophonic, right? Of course, it supports also MPE, and the sound is actually the reason why you buy this app. I suppose if you are nostalgic of that theremin, and there was, if you remember the Moog theremin, then this is a much cheaper version that gives you that sound. Now, in terms of UI, well, it's very simple. Up here, top left, you have name of preset and bank there as well. So click on here, you have access to this view. On the left hand side, you have banks, it's written here, banks, and also preset on the right hand side. Okay, so for example, scroll up and down, of course, scroll up and down here as well, and you can see the nice vertical bars appearing, which is great. It's a quite a tested UI from Yonac, and you find it in all their applications, so it works really nicely. Now, in terms of the controls down here, click here on the plus to add a new bank if you wish so, and of course to rename it here, and of course to move it here, right? You can do some management, kill some of them as well, and you can see the X here and also the transition, and then here you can actually share it. You can export the bank, you can email, you export the files, import the files. You have a number of options. And then here on the right hand side, you have similar options for the preset. So it gives you an alert, of course, because you need to select the bank first before you create one. So you, for example, let's create a new bank here, and let's call it user, like so. Press enter. I find it interesting, this big white space. Don't particularly like that, but I suppose a bit of a choice, just a use with so much white. But anyway, it works. So this is the user bank. It is selecting, clicking here, and we can start to save as a preset. Okay. changes saved, okay, which you can do. You can initialize a preset, click on init, and it's quite nice because it shows you init there. It doesn't give you a bank yet because it doesn't know where you're going to save it. Perhaps as I have selected the user, you could say you could pick up that, but that is a choice. Here you can rename it, of course, and typical functionality. Here you can move it, of course. Here you can do some management on preset. If we go to this bank, the shadows, you can do some management. You can, for example, remove some of them. Share, of course, some of the preset. Here you have a jolly. Click on it and it chooses a different preset randomly, which is lovely. Okay, of course, here you can also search, which is great. Again, I'm not sure I like the color choice here. I don't think they work really well in terms of contrast, but it's a search for project, but I find that difficult actually to read. But again, it actually work, you can see, and you are actually searching and you have immediate result, which is nice. The contrast here is okay, and now is a little bit better, but right at the beginning when it was interesting press here, you can't see here where it says search for preset. Okay, and then of course here you can restore factory to preset if you want to do so. So let's go to the Theremin Classics, and let's move up for the preset, and let's click on the first one, Inception Touch. Click here to exit the preset menu. So you notice here that is using a waveform called Therminator, but you can have a sine as well. Triangle. You can have different shark. Really interesting. Pulse 1/3. And 1/6, different type of width for the pulse, right? You can adjust the drive. It's nice, it gives you the feedback here in percentage. You can adjust the filter, cutoff and resonance. I like the fact that it gives you some information here at the top in terms of frequency. And then both for vibrato and tremolo, you have effectively rate and intensity. And tremolo here. Double click and it reset to default state, which I really like. Portamento we have seen, then you have a bit of effects, chorus, intensity and rate and delay, and you can, of course you can adjust the time and the feedback. So chorus. And delay, of course. Adjust the length in feedback. Okay, and then of course you can, for the vertical position, change the volume, like in this case. Or for example, the filter. It would be nice if the filter here, you would see also the changes here on the buttons as well, but it doesn't do in that case. Same for vibrato. You don't hear much because you don't have intensity here, so let's... And it's the same for tremolo here. Of course, let's remove the vibrato and adjust the intensity for, or the amount for the tremolo. So pretty straightforward, right? Just notice when you change the scale, notice what happens on the names. For example, at the moment it's chromatic, but and it doesn't give you the notes in the middle, just the octave. I suppose because there are too many, it doesn't show very well. But if I select blues, you can see the intermediary notes appear. So the sound is quite unique, I suppose, in terms of that theremin. So it's nice to play it using touch on your iPad. If you click here where it says controls, you actually remove the controls so you can enable them or remove them to gain more space, which is useful when you're actually playing it. Now, if you're running the standalone version, you have access to a tape machine as well. Pretty straightforward. Here it says load the file to play. Click on it. You have a standard interface here, and you can see here you have a previous recording. You have name, length, and date. Okay, with time as well. And you can click on it, and then of course you can play. In terms of what was recorded, swipe to the left to delete it, standard controls, so you have to remember that. You have a number of options here at the bottom to load, rename, import, export, and delete. Of course, the exit here is not always visible, is it? Right, the exit is a little bit small, but it works. Okay, now, in terms of how it works, pretty straightforward. You have volume and pan here. Click on record and play. Stop. Now we can click play again. We can activate loop, which means when it gets to the end of playing the file, it will start again. And then as you are playing the file, you can click in for input to set at that point the starting point of the loop, and you can do the same for the end of the loop, and then you can clear it. So let's, for example, click play and change the starting and end point of the loop. Yep. And here. So you can see it's playing only a few seconds, right? And of course, it will restart if you stop it, and of course, you can clear the looping as well. Okay, now you can change volume and pan. In the version that I'm running, when I move to the left, it seems to move it to the right in my headphones. Perhaps a glitch there, so something to look at. But the other thing I noticed, if you double click here on the dials, it doesn't reset it to the position. Interesting. I suppose the tape is not used as much as you would expect, but works only in standalone mode, and probably there are other ways, particularly if you use it as an AUv3. Right, so anyway, you can go up and down octave. You can click here to scroll the position, which is great, which works also changing the octave, even if the scrolling is enabled. You can change the output. And if you click here where it says Therminator 2, you have access to the user manual, Yonac website, apps. You can rate the app. Please encourage you to do that. And access to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also all right reserves from Yonac in. Okay. Now, let's move to AUM. As you can see, when inside AUM, let's create an audio channel, and let's load the same application here. Okay, so now this is inside the AUM, so it works really nicely. So let's change the size. Works really well in terms of resizing it. There you are, so really great. In terms of controls exposed, so works really nicely, exposes all the controls you actually need, which is really, really great. DSP usage is really, really good. In terms of size of the application, 25 megabytes, so really very small, so really, really great. Now you can do also MIDI learn. Click on here, and then, for example, you can click on the control, right? If you double click on it, you can set your CC number, the channel, minimum, maximum value. You can clear the parameter in the unit as well, and you can also enter the value manually, so that is really great. So you can map these controls against an external MIDI controller. You have your lock parameter here, and you have also panic, and you might need panic in case actually you get some note stuck, but I didn't experience any actually in my testing. So a little bit more on preset. Let's go to the classic one. Let's start with the Inception. Soprano. I find it better actually to, instead of a chromatic, choose a different scale, right? Let's look at the parameter there. It would be nice here to have some arrows to go to the next preset in the previous one, but I suppose that's not the UI normally you get from Yonac, but it would be nice to have that added in. Works very well. I'm using an external mouse here. I'm using the wheel. You can see it's receiving those controls, which is great. Let's notice if I press here on the touch, the screen disappear. So, but that's okay. Let's select blues. Let's set the note snap to maximum. So for the nostalgic one, I think it is a great addition. Now let's add something like Stellar Vox to make it a touch more interesting. Why not? Okay. Calling all units, alarm, Luna Chorosid. So you can create some interesting effects. Nice. this is interesting. If you move it very quickly, you can get some nice, interesting effect. Okay, so there it is. So if you like the sound, I suggest you go for it. Definitely cheaper, of course, than buying the hardware version. Of course, this is an emulation. Nice, simple controls, quite a tested UI. So very easy to learn. Learning curve is very, very short. DSP usage is great. Size is great. So very, very minor things are noticed in terms of a review. Sometimes if you move very quickly, there are some presets where you can hear some changes in attack, which are not always the best. But that really depends on the settings that you have here on the controls, what you have on the drive, for example. So nothing to worry about. But, you know, if you were to do something really quickly up and down with a lot of variation, I did notice sometimes some, shall we say, artifacts as you are changing quickly. Nothing that you cannot fix with some additional effects, so nothing to worry about. But overall, yeah, it's a nice, fun application. So nice to have it, particularly if you like that's the sound of the theremin. Okay, I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye.